Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Livy, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some of the filming locations from Hocus Pocus that I found in Salem, Massachusetts. So I kind of previewed it in my more recent video of the thrift finds I found in Salem, Massachusetts, that I did go to some of the filming locations for Hocus Pocus, and I wanted to show you guys the different locations that I saw. I'm also going to include some that I didn't go to because I did not check out all of them while I was in Salem, but I'll include some little fun facts here or there, let you know what they shot where, if they use the interior or exterior of that location, and just some cool facts about Hocus Pocus. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this video, and let's get started. Okay, so these locations are in no particular order. They're just kind of in the order that I went and saw them in. So the first one that I passed, actually by accident, was the Old Town Hall, where they shot the outside of the party scene, where Max and Danny's parents are there dressed up as Dracula and Madonna, and the witches go and kind of put a spell on all the parents to make sure they dance their life away while the witches go out and steal all the children of Salem, steal their souls. So I ended up walking down Essex Street. This was the first day I was in Salem. This was Thursday. And again, I think I mentioned in my last video, it was super rainy. And I was just kind of strolling along, and I looked as I was going towards kind of where the witch house is and all these shops are. I looked to the left and saw the Old Town Hall. It's right in the center of Essex Street in Salem, Massachusetts. It's really, really cool. And they actually did not shoot the interior party scenes at this location. They shot that on a soundstage where they do the whole "I put a spell on you" number.
Thank you, Max, for that marvelous introduction. I put a spell on you.
I'm serious. You got your head. You're not kidding. The head of the bus. All right. Yeah, cheer up. Let's go, guys.
Max and Danny kind of call out the witches in front of everybody, but they shot the outside of this in front of the Old Town Hall. And I'm going to put a couple photos up here so you can see the comparison of where they shot it in the movie and then just looking right at it. And it really is beautiful. It's one of the first buildings, one of the last standing historical buildings in Salem. And I think it's like one of the oldest ones or something like that. They don't do a whole lot there now. They do have some special events. I saw like a bulletin because I couldn't go inside, it wasn't open, but I saw a little bulletin saying that they have some special events to check online throughout the year. I know they do a lot in October, and it's kind of in this little like corridor, this little courtyard area. So I know that there's shops on each side, and they have vendors and lots of things going on in this little like courtyard area in front of the Old Town Hall, especially in October. You know, this time of year, they didn't have anything going on, but I could imagine just the beauty of the building and the brick buildings surrounding it, how beautiful it would be to have some fun special events. And it really brought back that kind of like Hocus Pocus party feeling. Even though there's nothing going on, you can kind of see how gorgeous the building is. So I'm also just kind of looking up some facts here so that I make sure I tell you guys correct things. This is not like an educational video by any means, kind of my own take on stuff. But it is that the Old Town Hall is the oldest surviving municipal building in Salem and a National Historic Site.
Great. How are we ever going to find Mom and Dad in this place?
Another location I just had to check out while I was in Salem was the Ropes Mansion, which is otherwise known as Allison's house from Hocus Pocus. So this is a house that is widely recognized. If you pass it, you know immediately that is Allison's house. It has the white, I think it's like wrought iron, but painted white fence all around it. And then it's just a big white mansion with black shutters. And it's actually called the Ropes Mansion. You can get tours of this house. I did not have a tour. It was closed when I was there. So unfortunately, I couldn't see what it looked like on the inside. But they didn't actually shoot the scenes from inside Allison's parents' house at the Ropes Mansion. They shot that at the Fair Oaks Ranch in Altadena. I think that's how you say that. So the interiors are going to be different because it is a different ranch that they shot at rather than the Ropes Mansion, but it still would have been really cool to see inside. So maybe on my next trip to Salem, I'll be able to check that out. In front of the white fence in front of Allison's house, there is a scene with Danny and Max where Max was being mean to Danny because she said that he needs to stand up to the bully. He's like, you know, get out of my life. And so she goes running over to a couple barrels of hay right in front of Allison's mansion and lays down and starts tearing up. Danny goes over to console her, and then he looks up into the sky and says, "Whoa," and just kind of spooks her by imagining that there's like witches or something up there.
I'm sorry. Check that out.
What? Something just flew across the moon.
Let's go, jerk face.
One thing you don't really know from how this scene is shot is that Essex Street, that's where the Ropes Mansion is, and it's actually a very busy street. It's one of the main roads going through Salem, so there is, I think it's one way each way, but there's a lot of cars parked along that street. There's a lot of houses right around there, and they use street parking, so it's like, it's definitely a neighborhood, but it is a heavily trafficked street. So that's one thing that you don't really necessarily see from how this is shot. It more just looks like a giant house and a cool neighborhood maybe, but you don't see all the hubbub that's going on around, because there is a lot right around there. And what's funny is, I think the way they shot it is that Max and Danny, you know, he upsets her and then she runs off, I think kind of like towards the left of the screen, and goes and falls into that barrel of hay. Or hay bale. I guess I'm saying that totally wrong. But what is right next to the Ropes Mansion is it's like the first church of Salem. So it's a really old, like cathedral looking church that I'm gonna actually show for you guys. It's kind of got that medieval style. So I'll put in some clips of that here. And that is what is right next door, right on the right-hand side if you're staring at the Ropes Mansion. So that's definitely not something that you see in the film. They make it more look like a neighborhood that Allison's house is in. But there is the Ropes Mansion, then to the right of that is the First Church of Salem, and then just to the right of that is the Witch House. Not the Witch House from Hocus Pocus, but it is like a witchy looking museum in Salem, Massachusetts. It's very popular. If you've ever seen pictures of people that go there, they usually take a picture in front of this house. That's definitely not included in the film, and I'm actually not sure when that witch house was built. I'm sure it's been around for a while, but I don't know why they wouldn't have included it in the film, because it's a really cool area, and even the First Church of Salem is really cool looking. So that's interesting that it wasn't included in Hocus Pocus, but I thought I would mention that the street does look different to what they put on camera for Hocus Pocus. One location that I did not go check out, but I definitely want to include because it's one of my favorite scenes, is the scene of Max and the bullies in the cemetery. So Ice and I don't even remember the blonde hair guy's name. I remember I had a huge crush on him growing up, but I don't remember his name. Anyway, so I didn't go to the cemetery. That cemetery is actually Old Burial Hill, and it's in Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is just a short drive from Salem, Massachusetts. I didn't go check it out because it was snowing so much while I was there, and it was very icy. So I don't even think I really would have been able to get the shots that I wanted to kind of match up the different locations, or the same location at the different times from the film to while I'm there. So I'm just gonna include some of the footage here. That's the scene where Max is riding his bike, kind of a shortcut through the cemetery, runs into Ernie, Ice, and the other bully, and they take his shoes from him. They kind of ask him for smokes, and he's like, no, I don't smoke. And they're like, what are we supposed to do with our afternoon? And then Max is like, well, you could try to learn breathing through your nose, because Ernie's like, they end up stealing his shoes, and he has to ride his bike home without any of his new shoes. I think they were like Nike trainers or something like that.
Paul! Who are you? Max. I just moved here. From where? Los Angeles. LA. Oh, dude. Tubular. I'm Jay. This is Ernie. How many times I gotta tell you? My name ain't Ernie no more. It's Ice. Ice. This is Ice. So, let's have a butt. No thanks, I don't smoke. They're very health conscious in Los Angeles. You got any cash? Hollywood? No. Gee, we don't get any smokes from you. We don't get any cash. What am I supposed to do with my afternoon?
Maybe you could learn to breathe through your nose.
Whoa. Check out the new cross trainers.
Cool. Let me try them on.
Later, dude. See you, Hollywood.
a scene as he's leaving the cemetery without his shoes that he is looking out over Salem, and that is not shot at the old burial hill in Marblehead, Massachusetts. That particular shot is in Crocker Park, which is in Marblehead. So it's still in Marblehead, but it is in Crocker Park, which is different than the old burial hill cemetery. Another really cool location that I went to go see was the Jacob Bailey's High School. So this is where they shot the scenes outside of the school where Allison and Max are walking along that fence, and then also where the witches go to kind of get, they get tricked into going into the kiln and, you know, getting set on fire, and the green smoke comes out and then comes back down, and Max and Danny and Allison think that they've killed the witches, but they really haven't.
I want my book.
One of my favorite lines from that movie is when the witches are walking up to the high school and they say,
What is this place?
It reeks of children. It is a prison for children.
and there's kind of two parts to this location that I want to talk about. The first being the fence in the park that Allison and Danny are she's walking and he's riding his bike down right after they get out of school. One of the first scenes in the film where he had given her his number in the classroom, and she ends up just handing him the piece of paper back when she's wearing that red hood, and she puts it over her as she's walking away. So this park is actually directly across from Jacob Bailey High School, which is actually Phillips Elementary School. I'll get into that in a minute. But this park really is right there with that fence right along. So I wanted to make sure to get some cool shots of that because I love that scene. There's just so much beautiful fall leaves in it. It feels very fall with everybody walking around and the town is kind of bustling. You get a really good idea of how Salem is in October around Halloween time. Especially with what they are both wearing. Max is wearing kind of a tie-dye shirt, and I think he's got a flannel or something around his waist, or maybe he's got a jacket. And Allison is wearing a cute little shirt and skirt, and then she's got that red hood that she just pulls over, which is very reminiscent of fall weather, in the East Coast. I'm from Indiana, and we get that kind of fall weather as well, where there's a chill in the air. So I love this park scene, and it is really cool to see that there is the fence is still there. There's a sidewalk. It was very icy while I was there. And then actually, if you're staring with the school on your left-hand side, right on the right-hand side, there is a park. It's a large park, and there's a playground and stuff. So like I said, there was a lot of ice while I was there, but it is a nice big central location right across from the school. The second part of this, you do see the school a couple of times. You see the exterior of it. And this school is actually not Jacob Bailey High School. I'm not exactly sure how they came up with that. I had seen rumors that it was, one of the people that was based off of John Adams, something about old presidents or something like that. But this school is actually Phillips Elementary School, and it closed in 1992. And the film was shot in 93. So at that time, that school is actually not being used. Now, they didn't use the interior of the school. They actually shot that at a school in Whittier, California, is the interior shots, but the exterior shots with the witches walking up to it and the kids playing outside in the park in front of the elementary school at night, that is all shot at the Phillips Elementary School in Salem, Massachusetts. So like I said, it is closed now. Walking past it along that fence, it still looks beautiful. I'm not sure what it would look like on the inside. I wasn't able to take a peek, but it's still in great condition on the outside, and I'm not sure if that's because they want to make sure it looks nice for tourists that come see it, because it is a cool location to check out, or why it's in such great condition, but it is still very beautiful. Okay, so I had mentioned that they did not shoot the interior shots of Max over the intercom and the principal's office and the witches going into the kiln. They didn't shoot that at the Phillips Elementary School in Salem. They actually shot that, it's at East Whittier Middle School, and that's, I think, in Whittier, California. So it's in a middle school there, which is a fun fact that Back to the Future was actually shot just a few blocks away. The school they use is a few blocks away in Whittier, California. So that must be a hub for different movies to shoot different, school scenes there, and it's got some cool filming areas, really well set up. It looks like what I would imagine the interior of Phillips Elementary looking like, but obviously they used a different location, so. Next location I want to talk about is Max and Danis house, and this is, in my mind, at least growing up, an iconic house. I always wanted a room just like Max's room with the little stairwell going up to the top. And that scene where Max and Allison are sitting there kind of cuddled up. That's just such a beautiful scene where having that staircase in a room would be so cool. Like, I always thought, like, yeah, I'm gonna have one like that, and I'll have my crush in my room and we'll be able to sleep in each other's arms. That didn't happen. But I did go ahead and check out Max and Danis house while I was in Salem. It is off of Ocean Drive, and it is actually 4 Ocean Drive. That's the address. It is a residential home, so people actually live there now, which how cool would that be to check out or to live in Max and Danis house from Hocus Pocus? Like, that would be amazing. So I wasn't able to go in or anything, but I was coming down the street and it was on the left-hand side as I was going down the street. What you don't see in this film is that it's actually right on the water. So it kind of, Ocean Drive, I mean, the name says it all. It kind of curves around, kind of curves to the right if you have Max and Danis house on the left-hand side, and all behind that row of houses is water, is kind of the Bay Area. So it's a really pretty location, but that's definitely not something you see in the film, like, at all. For some reason, I never remember seeing water like that. Like, from the overhead shots, you see the witches flying over a lot of trees and water. So there's some really cool overhead shots of what Salem looks like, but you don't see houses necessarily like right on the water like this one is. The other thing I kind of knew going into seeing this house or checking it out from the outside was that people had said it was a lot smaller in person. And I was astounded by how small it looks in person. It looks like a 1-story home, and it might be. When you're right next to it, it looks very small. It's kind of right on the street. It doesn't necessarily look like this large house. But what I think the camera people had done is, as you go down the street, when you're right in front of it, it's very close to where the street is, like where I was filming, and I'll show you here. But then as you kind of drive down, you drive almost at an angle down a hill, and then you can look back at the house, and it does look a lot larger from this lower point of view. So, like I said, even being there, it does kind of look like a 1-story, but the way I can imagine you'd frame it to look larger would be going down this little Ocean Drive that curves and goes down the hill, and then looking back, and it looks quite a lot bigger from that angle. So as cool as the exterior is of this house, they actually did not shoot the interior scenes of Max and Danis house at 4 Ocean Drive. They shot those on a soundstage, I think in LA somewhere, including Max's room, which in my mind, I'm still just gonna imagine that's what the interior of 4 Ocean Drive looks like. Even the scene when Max comes in the house and his parents are like getting ready for Halloween, or his dad's like fussing with something remote, you see these beautiful windows, and it looks like he just comes in the front door and there's windows there, and just this beautiful, very like colonial home.
Hey, Max! Hey, how was school?
Sucked.
Hey, watch your language.
Can't believe you made me move here.
When I think of like East Coast homes, like gorgeous old windows, really cool like kind of staircases, lots of wood, and then going into Max's room, again, another small staircase, you know, lots of wood and beautiful finishes to a home that's really like warm and cozy. And unfortunately that was not, you know, that's not exactly how 4 Ocean Drive, the house on 4 Ocean Drive, really looks on the inside, but in my mind it still would look like that. So if I went in, I think it would almost be like, you know, when you meet your hero and you're like, man, they're not as cool as I thought. I think if I were to see inside that home, I almost would be disappointed because it wouldn't look like what I think of the Dennis's homes, the Denison's homes as. So Denison home. That's really hard to say. One location that I really wish I was able to check out, but I didn't during the time I was there because the weather just sucked, was the old like Pioneer Village, which is where they shot like the old Salem scenes at the beginning of Hocus Pocus. So it's actually let me make sure I get this right. It's a Pioneer Village on West Avenue in Salem, Massachusetts. And it's like an old kind of prairie cottagey pioneer village. So if you're from, I don't know if they have this anywhere else, but in Indiana, we have a place called Connor Prairie, which if you were ever a kid, you probably went on a field trip there. So it's like an old pioneer village, and that's kind of the same idea as what the Pioneer Village in Salem, Massachusetts is. They kind of show you probably like how to churn butter and do lots of things that they did back in the day, you know, and they have brooms and sweeping, and I'm sure they cover a lot more of like the witchy side of things because of Salem, Massachusetts and witch trials. But that is where they shot the old Salem scenes. It was in the Pioneer Village off of West Avenue in Salem, Massachusetts. Now the overhead shots of the like 1693 Salem, the older Salem shots, was actually off of Plymouth PA's 17th century English village. So it's a different kind of pioneer village, and it's a Plymouth in Plymouth Harbor. So I'm just kind of reading this to make sure I get it right because this is very specific. But while this open air museum looks like it opens out into the bay like Salem's Pioneer Village, it actually sits alongside the Eel River. I'm not sure where the Eel River is, obviously somewhere next to Plymouth Harbor. So the overhead shots of the old Salem Village isn't actually like the Pioneer Village from Salem, Massachusetts, where they did kind of the shots around the cottage and things like that. That is a different pioneer style village off of Plymouth Harbor. Now, Thackeray and Emily's house actually is part of the Pioneer Village in Salem, Massachusetts, and it looks like it was a governor's house during that time. So that's what they used as Thackeray and Emily's house, where Emily gets taken by the witches, kind of lured in and crosses the woods to go to their cottage. So that is part of the Pioneer Village in Salem, Massachusetts. Some of the other really striking scenes in the movie are ones with like Billy Butcherson in his grave.
I love him.
Being in the cemetery and like the old burial cemetery gates. And a lot of that were shot in studio. So the final scene with the witches being in the cemetery was shot on a studio. I think maybe Warner's Brothers, where they think that the old burial gates, like the cemetery sign is. And Billy Butcherson's grave, that was all part of like being shot in the studio. So there wasn't actually locations in Salem where you could go see this is exactly where they shot it. The iconic bus scene where the witches are on the bus and Sarah Jessica Parker, Sarah Sanderson, is flirting with the bus driver.
Well, mortal bus boy.
This is also not shot in Salem, Massachusetts. It's shot in a Warner Brothers ranch. So I think in the studio area of Warner Brothers. So again, not Salem, Massachusetts. Definitely looks like it. They do a really good job of shooting the neighborhood to make it kind of feel like Salem and the streets of Salem. And when you drive the streets of Salem, the shots from Hocus Pocus definitely feel like they fit into the overall feeling of Salem, Massachusetts, with the houses really decorated close together. A lot of the homes are different colors, different trim and different paint, a lot of cute fences, and kind of have that like community feeling. So I would say they did a really good job of the places that they did not shoot in Salem, Massachusetts. They shot them either at Warner Brothers Ranch or a soundstage. They still made it have that Salem community feeling. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me here on my channel today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video of the different filming locations of Hocus Pocus in Salem, Massachusetts, and a few others elsewhere. I loved shooting this video. It's not anything I've ever done before. I actually watch a lot of these kind of videos on YouTube. My favorite is probably the Grimm Collective, and I know they actually just went to Salem, Massachusetts in October and did a similar video, so I'm not trying to copy them. I was just kind of trying to give my own take on the different filming locations of Hocus Pocus in Salem, Massachusetts, just because I went and checked them out and I really appreciated it, and I loved being able to see all of that and get a really cool point of view of those locations. So I want to share that, and I'm thinking of kind of adding more of these videos in, either kind of movie fact videos or different filming locations, because this is something I'm definitely interested in. I was a theater major in college, and I really appreciate the different intricacies of filming different locations, whether it be sound stages, how things are shot, time of year, you know, really what the feeling is of that location, I guess is the best way to say it. There's something that's magical about when you shoot something and going to see at a later date and thinking of the different cinematography in your head. It just creates kind of a special place. You kind of get to be there and imagine and feel something. Even though I went 25 plus years later, I still had those fun feelings being in those filming locations that Hocus Pocus was filmed in. So I'm done babbling, but this was a very fun video for me to do. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.